Are we ready? Children, settle down quickly. I'll just give you 2 minutes time to settle down. These chairs to be removed from here. This is blocking the way. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and we are here to deliberate upon certain issues which are global in nature. We all know that we have gathered here for the 16th International Conference of the Chief Justices of the world. The day is beautiful because we have such eminent people sitting here before you who are going to express their views as to how global problems or issues can be tackled. And it is more beautiful because children as young as you are taking part in such an important event. Before we start with the basic issues, I would like to introduce the various eminent judges who are here sitting before you and who are going to give you their point of view on tackling the various global issues. We have with us today Honorable Justice Dr. T.N. Valinayangam, Judge Lok Adalat, Madras High Court, India. Can you applaud for him, children? Honorable Justice Nabil Sari, Judge Court of Session, Lebanon. Honorable Justice Dr. Piero Lianza, Judge Tribunale di Trieste, Italy. Honorable Mr. Justice Taqiyuddin, former Judge, Calcutta High Court, India. Honorable Mr. Justice Raghavendra S. Rathore, former Judge, Rajasthan High Court, India. And His Excellency Dr. Sabit Subasic, Ambassador of Bosnia and Herzegovina, New Delhi. These are some of the speakers who you're going to listen to them. They are very eminent, and if they found time for you children, I think we are honored to have them here before us today. Now, when we talk about global issues, global concerns, the things which come to our mind, the issues which come to our mind, basically, first point, I'm sure what comes to your mind is terrorism. And when we see terrorism in a broader sense, we find that terrorism is not confined only to one particular thing, but it can be international terrorism, it can be religious terrorism, or it can also be state-sponsored terrorism. The next point which comes as far as global issues are concerned is ethnic and civil wars. The third, I don't want to speak much on these because we have such eminent people who are going to actually give you an insight on all these topics. So I don't want to express my views right now on this. Third is nuclear proliferation and disarmament. We'll see how this can be controlled. And next is conflict resolution by arbitration, by amicable means, by peaceful means. And if you see children, you'll find that all these four issues, which are global in nature, they all go hand in hand. They all are interconnected. So if we can tackle one, automatically the other gets tackled. So I think I'll hand over the mic now to our chairperson, Honorable Justice Dr. T.N. Valinayangam, Judge Lok Adalat, Madras High Court, India. Over to you, sir.
Good evening to all my young children, and let God bless you with everything in life. You know, God has given everything in the world, and you are entitled to get it. You have got a right to get it, not from the Constitution but by nature itself. And I am sure that under the guidance of Dr. Jagadish Gandhi and the CMC, you are bound to get it. And I can straight away force a final judgment. You already got it. You are going to only enjoy it in life from today onwards. Today we have got the global issues. Let me tell you one thing. You remember the speech of Vivekananda on the floors of American stage, when so many people were talking about religion and religious brotherhood. He started his address by merely saying brothers and sisters, and the entire people rose up and applauded because that object is achieved. He need not speak for anything further. Similarly, when you talk about one world, one religion, and one law for the entire nation. Now you see before us, instead of going in the main hall, we have got Lebanon before us, Italy before us, Bosnia is before us, and including Calcutta and Rajasthan, and if not Madras. So the possibility, the real truth or the proof is that we are all together here, and we have all united to prove to the world that once united we can do wonderful things. Now it is in your hands. As Abdul Kalam, the great man, said, in 2020, India is going to be the greatest nation in the world. He depends upon you and you only, because the younger generation has to come up. And I know you will come up because you have got enthusiasm. Yesterday, when in another seminar, one of you asked a question. See, you are going on making laws and laws. Now the poor are becoming poorer and the rich are becoming richer. And what is it you are going to do legally? I only appreciate the way in which you think and put the question. Of course, that question remains to be answered in a different concept. The presiding officer, chairperson, simply said that whenever today, no doubt, the poorer people are not taken care of because of various problems. And the richer man becomes richer and richest. He quoted one thing, that today the persons who are supposed to rule us, MLAs or MPs, are trying to raise their salary, and the top of it in Delhi, a man wants 60,000 rupees for to and fro allowance from going to his house to the assembly. That means totally about 8 lakhs or so through the year. That may not be the salary of even an best engineer tomorrow when you become or any other. So the point is, the politicians who have now made inroad in our society has to be cut down and curtailed down. But where is the force behind all these things? Who are they? Who are going to control them? You know, it's a student's power. It is a power of you. Because tomorrow when you go and choose your candidates to rule you, you are going to ask him questions because of the way in which you know you are thinking about it. So once you begin to control yourself, control this country, and then automatically the world will be at your doors. James Hadley Chase wrote a novel saying the world in your pockets. Why? Because it is you and you alone can control it. Now we have got a global issues. First we have got a terrorism. What is terrorism? Why the man does such a bad act? Because His mind is corrupted. Today I saw a small bit on WhatsApp. It is about a girl who got married. It says that husband is not given a boon because she is good and is a good family girl, like a deity Mahalakshmi coming into the house. The answer is, he says, it is the parents who made them, who made the girls, and who made the boys. It's the way in which they are brought up is more important than the guidance given by Guru, your teacher. That only shapes your life. Therefore, if the mind is clear, your mind is going towards good things, not only you can become good, you can also make another man good. Where if a boy or if anybody does something wrong, then you can correct him. There is a small another bit. Somebody took Coca-Cola, somebody took some papers and just threw on the road. A small boy, he was holding the hands of his parents, just left them, go there, take the bits and the Coca-Cola bottle and puts it in a dustbin. On seeing that, everybody surprised, everybody followed him. And everybody immediately went to the dustbin and put everything down. That shows what? Is a child who wants to become all right, who has got the intention, who has got the capacity, who has got the live wire in them to do good for the society. Therefore, if everyone begin to act like that, there is no terrorism at all in the world. The terrorism comes because of the fear in the mind of the man who commits such a heinous acts. Because he feels insecure. He feels he's not been cared by society. Therefore, once you feel that they are being cared for, they are being taken care of, they are being properly fed, then there will be no terrorism at all. And they can, even if the man is bad, you can always correct him. Then you have got a ethnic and civil wars. See, after all, our motto is, we are one family. In the entire world is our kin and kith and kin. Then why there is a war between two ethnic? What is the division? Who made the division? When God has created people, He created the same level. If you are born in a Muslim family, you are called a Mohammedan or you are Abdullah. If you are born in a Sikh family, you are got Singh. If you are born in a Hindu family, you become Narayanan. So the point is, your body is the same created by Brahma. And you are given different names because of the way in which you are belonged to a particular community. And the community came, in the ancient days, it is based upon the profession you are doing. Goldsmith, farmers, and the panchayat men. These are all the persons who are given the names of the community based upon the profession, not by community itself. So if that thought is brought out, the question of ethnic wars will never be happen. And the nuclear proclamation. Today, Gandhi was telling, Jagash Gandhi was addressing the main hall. We had earlier our powerful bomb, which can cover about 500 meters. Today we have got a powerful bomb that covers 5,000 kilometers. Similarly, seeing as Pakistan also produced from 2,500 to 5,000. So every country is now trying to have this atomic energy converted into attacking bombs. So why they want it? They want to protect themselves. So they want to have something more. Yesterday some speaker immediately referred to the fact that America is a developed country. And there are so many developed countries, they need not come and try to disturb our development. Not India alone. In other places also they come and intervene. Therefore the war comes in. As rightly said, war can be avoided by negotiation. What is it they want? In fact, one of the girl student was addressing just now. He referred to the war, the place where there was a aggression, and the problem was solved by the International Court of, by arbitration, and the land was given back to the original man. So these are all things that can be done mainly by you and you people alone. And finally, the conflict resolution. See, a dispute comes in. How does a problem crops in? Either because of ego, or because of a desire to have nothing more, or because you have got a problem of some solution you want in business or somewhere else. Going to the court and fighting the issue is not going to solve it permanently. By going to the arbitration or negotiation, you practically settle the whole thing. Before concluding and allowing other, I would like to do only one thing. We have got Lok Adalat. That means it is Loka Adalat. There what we do is, whoever goes to court, we call the people who are fighting in the court and negotiate with them. Why are you fighting? What is the problem you have got? You come and tell us. So when they come and tell us, we try to solve the problem and pass an award. That award is final. No appeal is can be filed against that, even to Supreme Court or any court. And one more thing, within 6 weeks of the passing of the award, the relief is given. Normally, whenever you go to court, you get a decree and you don't get the relief at all. In accident cases, a man gets injured. He does not get the compensation for a number of years. Now we, sitting in the Lokat, not only in Madras but also throughout the country, the Supreme Court has formed the Lok Adalat, by which hundreds and hundreds crores of rupees are being distributed to the injured and compensated people within week of 6 weeks. Please remember that. That's the revolution we are making it. So these things are possible only when it comes from the bottom, that is from the children, and especially as I can see that everybody has got some talent or other. You try to develop that talent, you will be reach the top. All my blessings to you. Now, I will have the pleasure of calling upon Honorable Mr. Justice Nabil Sari, Judge, Court of Kasalian, Lebanon.
Good afternoon. Does anybody speak French or Arabic? Because I only speak Arabic and French, and due to the specific time, I will ask Mr. Adil my presentation. I will be ready for answering any question. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Honorable judges and dear students, today my topic is Women and Peace. Dear students, in 2012, the United States established a national action plan to implement a UN resolution that calls for the equal participation of women in resolving conflicts and building peace. The US National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security reflects that countries are more peaceful and prosperous when women have equal rights and opportunities. The plan ensures that gender concerns are fully integrated into diplomatic, military and development activities. The plan specifies how US international engagements involve women, half the world's population, as equal partners in preventing conflict and building peace in countries threatened by war, violence, and insecurity. According to the President Obama's executive order establishing the plan, achieving this equality is critical to US and global security. The United States joined more than 30 countries that have adopted similar plans. These are among the US plan's guidelines. Promote gender equality and advancement of women and girls in areas facing conflict. Support the full participation of women in preventing and resolving conflict and building peace. Protect women and girls who are disproportionately affected by conflict from gender-based violence, exploitation, discrimination, trafficking, and other abuse. Promote stability by investing in health, education, and economic opportunity for women and girls. Provide for disaster and humanitarian responses that respect the specific needs of women and girls. In October 2000, the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 1325 to recognize the important role of women in the prevention and resolution of conflicts and in peace building, and the need to increase their role in decision making with regard to conflict prevention and resolution. Lessons from Northern Ireland, Liberia, and other areas already had shown that when involved, women are more likely to support agreements that restore security and services to their communities without regard to winning or losing. Women participants tend to focus on issues critical to peace but sometimes overlooked in formal negotiation, including human rights, justice, national reconciliation, and economic renewal. They tend to build coalition across ethnic and provincial lines and speak for other marginalized groups. They may act as mediators and foster compromising during the rebuilding process. Early lessons. The significance of including women in peace and security issues has been demonstrated in many places. Women from rival communities in Northern Ireland built bridge through the Northern Ireland Women's Coalition and contributed to the end of a decade-long conflict. Rwandan women helped put their communities on the road to peace and prosperity after the horrific violence between Hutus and Tutsis. And they laid the foundation for the highest percentage of women in parliament in the world. The US plan requires government agencies working with other countries to help increase women's skills for political peacemaking. This includes training women to take active roles in their local and national governments. Other tasks include helping develop laws and policies that promote women's rights, increasing the capacity of UN system, law enforcement, military, and others to prevent and respond to conflict-related violence against women, and helping ensures women's equal access to aid, distribution, and other emergency services. That State's Department is helping to implement the US plan by supporting the roles of women in peace building and recovery in Afghanistan, South Sudan, and Burma, among other countries in Arab awakening countries. Like the State Department is supporting women's participation in politics and promoting their roles in reforming security. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nepal, and Salvador, the State Department works with women's groups to pursue justice for survivors of gender-based violence related to conflict. In addition, the US Agency for International Development builds women's negotiation skills in the Mindanao region of Philippines, trains police in Nepal, and increase the number of registered women voters in Yemen, among other initiatives. Guiding beliefs. The United States recognize that millions of women and girls worldwide are excluded from public life, subjected to violence, or barred from education. Such exclusions inhibit economic growth and opportunity in the countries where they are practiced. They defy America's sense of justice that belief.
Finish.
Thank you.
Speak. Speak.
They defy America's sense of justice that believes that no country can advance when it suppresses half its population and fails to apply those talents, energies, and gifts in building a future. The United States will continue to empower women as agents of peace. Finally, I extend my thanks to Mr. Jagdish Gandhi and his family and CMS administration and teachers and students. I must thank everyone who organized this successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Justice Nabli Sari, on touching a beautiful subject, women and peace. Now I call upon Honorable Justice Dr. Piero Lianza, Judge, Tribunal of Trieste, Italy. I request all the speakers to confine 10 minutes their speech so that there may be time for the students to ask questions also.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I will stick to the 10 minutes time allowance. So first of all, let me thank you, the City Montessori School, for this invitation in this conference, which is of great and key importance for the expression of principles of equality, freedom, and peace in the world. I think what you are doing here is really great, and if you can bring your thoughts all around the world, it will have positive impacts. So let me know the subject on which I'm briefly going to speak is about inter-ethnic conflicts. But in order to do that, I would like to remark that the basic principles of freedom and equality of all men before the law, as you probably all know, has been set already in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the United Nations, signed in 1948 in Paris, in Europe. But this was not the first. Many historians say and believe that these principles of basic fundamental human rights date back to 1215. So I'm talking about 800 years ago. And we are talking about the so-called Magna Charta. In Latin it's Magna Carta. It's a sort of Bill of Rights that was signed by King John of England in 1215. So 1215, it was June of 1215. It's exactly 800 years today and some months. Why we say that? I made some research and I discovered that one of the principles enshrined in this Magna Carta, it's Article 39, say that no free man shall be captured, imprisoned, or disseized of his freehold, and of his liberties, and of his property, or exiled, or outlawed, or destroyed, nor we will proceed against him by force, or proceed against him by arms, but only by the lawful judgment of his peers, or by the law of the land. Okay, this is English dating back to that time, so, and it was actually in Latin, the original version. But this basic principle, I think it's after it's repeated in all universal declaration of human rights. So they already mentioned the United Nations Declaration, but also the African Charter of Human Rights, which is was approved in 1981. So it's quite recent. And of course, the European Convention of Human Rights. I come from Italy, so I have to recall the principle of the European Convention. They are principle of basic freedom. Every human being, every man, every citizen is equal before the law. The freedom is guaranteed, and his rights are guaranteed. There are rights of women, of children in this convention, rights to a fair trial, right of property, right of freedom of thought. And this principle is interesting. They also proceed from the French Revolution in 1789, and in the American Declaration of Independence. Today I was talking with an American lawyer who is here also in this room now, and we were exchanging interesting thoughts about this American Declaration of Independence and French Declaration of Independence. In two separate continents, they expressed the same principles. So, I will still stick to the 10 minutes allowance by saying that all these principles didn't avoid the explosion of inter-ethnic conflicts. So not only wars between nations, but also wars between peoples and different ethnic groups within the same nation. And I not only refer to the crisis in Rwanda, which we all know, but also in the crisis in former Yugoslavia. Why I think I thought about these two main conflicts, because from these two conflicts, two important international courts were born. The United Nations established the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda and the International Criminal Tribunal for former Yugoslavia. These international tribunals are still working after about more than 15 years after the end of these conflicts. And they are dealing with all the war crimes and genocide that happened, that occurred during these wars. Why I am mentioning also former Yugoslavia, if it's allowed to me, that I've been working as international judge also in Kosovo, which was part of this former Yugoslavia. Actually, it was the last ethnic conflict that exploded in this region, and it stopped only after the intervention of the United States of America. I remember President Clinton in 1999 ordered this intervention, and only the military intervention stopped this war, this conflict. Of course, in an ideal world, it will be desirable that conflicts will be solved by international treaties and mediation and diplomatic activities. But in that case, it was not possible. I'm thinking also about this conflict in particular because it's so close to my country, so close to Italy. It's 100 kilometers by sea, just from the coast of Italy and Yugoslavia. And we had this war so close to our houses and watching it on TV. And actually, these conflicts led many consequences, not only on the side of genocide or murdering of people and war crimes, but actually also on the civil relations, civil society. I'm talking about property, family law, possession, work employment, work relations. In the 4 years I've been working in this international court in Kosovo, I was dealing with civil cases, not with criminal cases. So not with terrorism and not with war crimes. But I saw how much the inter-ethnic contrasts led to disastrous consequences, because properties of citizens, for example, of Albanian nationalities, were destroyed by the army of the Serbian nationalities. And workers of Albanian origin were fired, were dismissed from their work position. Their houses were burned. But what happened? After the military interventions, the opposite thing happened. And in this case, they were the houses of the Serbian people and of the Serbian nationalities that were destroyed by the people from Albanian nationalities, meaning that even after the military intervention, the inter-ethnic conflict, let's say, or contrast, was still alive and still burning in this country. So, thank you for your invitation. I think I am exactly within the 10 minutes allowed to me, and so I am pleased to give the word to my eminent colleagues.
Thank you. Good man.
Hello. Thank you, Justice Dr. Piazzo Leanza. He made one point, I don't know whether he noted that or not. He is also the international judge. The aim of the conference is we want to have an international court that is effective. The present International Court of Justice is not effective at all unless both the parties agree. Now he has taken the task as an international judge. He has dealt with the cases. And his main case was, apart from other things, civil relationship that is more important in in the world and in the life. When civil relations are basically protected and they are allowed to develop in a friendly way, the question of war crimes or question of ethnic wars may not arise at all. Thank you, sir. Now we call upon Mr. Justice Raghavendra S. Rathore, former judge, Rajasthan High Court. You don't mind the
No. Hello.
Though the order is given as the fourth man, he wants to give preference to the third man, namely Justice Tofaiq Gunyan Uddin, former judge, Calcutta High Court. Please, brother.
Good afternoon to honorable chairpersons and the respective other judges on the dais and of the dais, respected members of the audience, respected coordinator, ladies and gentlemen, and above all, my beloved students, who subject to approval and correction, I must say, they are like my sons and daughters. At the very outset, I beg to be excused for any commissions and omissions. There may be some overlapping of incidents, overlapping of statements or something like this. But I think today's matters of discussions are regional and international terrorism, ethnic civil wars, genocide, misguided forces, nuclear proliferations and conflict resolutions. What are these subjects? If we take hours after hours, it will be very difficult to conclude these. However, I shall try to confine at least the definition and some semblance of the ideas of the subjects within my humble reach. Before I go there, I must congratulate Dr. Jagdish Gandhi for his onerious attempt to make such sublime attempt to show the right path of direction for the upliftment of the present generation children who will be the key players in subsequent years to come, and the unborn children who are likely to see the light of the world. Anyway, these topics are more or less interlinked with some other aspects which I want to elaborate within a very short span. Before that, I want to say that the main theme was world peace, the betterment of the children vis-a-vis the formation of the world government. But at the risk of excuse and begging a pardon for my comment, I once again repeat that this term world government to some extent is a misnomer, because until and unless a consensus is adopted, we come to the heads by several heads of the states. It is very difficult to translate the idea into action. Judges are required to pass judgments and orders. They are not supposed to get those executed. The burden, the responsibility is on the heads of the executive to execute the judgments and orders. Unless and unless the executive machinery is responsive to the judges, to the orders of the judges, there cannot be any justification of rendering justice, because of the fact that the judgment will be papers only. Now, let us come to the questions. What is terrorism? Terrorism is an act of a sensible human being or insensible human being to terrorize somebody else to achieve the ends by foul means for a particular object either social or national or something like this. The definition cannot be exactly put on record, but we should take this thing as granted that simply to terrorize a man without any rhyme or reason by another man to achieve an object is called terrorization. Terrorization is aimed at a group or a state or a country or to a broader society so as to make them frightened, intimidated, to put them under coercion and duress, to yield to the desire of the perpetrators of the terrorism. This is one's aspect. Now, nuclear proliferation. We are living in the age of cyber crimes. Not it is correct to some correct propositions, but I like to add a bit further. The nuclear proliferation is as vicious as cyber crime because of the fact we have learned from the history how the massive destruction was effected by the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Anyway, there is a madness in the race of nuclear proliferations, although we are crying hoarse of the point that let us put a check and balance in the arms race in the form of nuclear, in the form of applications of nuclear weapons. Anyway, several thoughts have come into the pictures. America took the leading part, but with due respect and with submission for excuse, I think that though Obama recently has advocated for executing the degree for the implementation of the CTBT, but the Senate is not willing. Recently, in view of the excursion undertaken by the Russia, the situation has become very worse. Now, regarding disarmament, some treaties have been executed, but there is a dwindling position. Whether any sound light is visible now, that will be told by the next generation, or else the world leaders come together to say soundly that no, let us take a place to stop the arms race, particularly the non-proliferation treaty of the nuclear weapons adaptation. Next comes genocide. What is genocide? Genocide is a kind of mass killing with the same object. The four subjects are intertwined in such a fashion that one is inseparable from the others. Therefore, the resultant action of all these aspects are same. Anti-interest of human being, and to be more precise, anti-interest of the children who are the budding budges whom we should worship as rising suns. Next, genocide. We have learned the genocide of Nazis. We have learned the Bosnia. We have seen in 1970 war undertaken by a particular neighboring country. Recently, we are also watching in one of the Arab countries how genocides have been, how refugees are taking center to other places. This is about genocide in a nutshell. Ethnic clashes is what one section, one sect is at loggerheads with the others in order to achieve certain objects and certain purposes. What is reconciliations, conflict resolutions? If there is a conflict between some X and Y, there may be resorting to court, but there are alternative remedies has been given, mediation, arbitrations, persuasion, something like this. These things cannot be elaborated within very short times. Now, these are the objects of the discussions, but what for? I think the root cause are inherent with some points which are absolutely of my personal, and once again I beg to be excused if my idea is not accepted by anybody. It is simply my personal. To translate into the object of this, United Nations Security Council should be strengthened, International Court of Justice should be empowered, and international law should be modified to take care of such impacts of the objects very stringently. Regarding this, what will be the objects, what will be the interest, very much related to the kiddies, that is, there should be a total ban of use of nuclear weapons, mass destruction weapons, chemicals of any country totally, trafficking of children of immoral purpose in child employment, deforestation be substituted by adequate number of plantation of trees in a planned and calculated way to replenish the old one with new ones. Emission of smoke from vehicles be controlled and checked at regular intervals. Factory emission be channeled through beneath the earth. Free compulsory education be provided to all children up to 18 years. Up to such age, food, clothing, reading materials are to be provided by the state. Sufficient fund is to be earmarked by the state. Therefore, adequate facility be provided to them in regard to park, playground, and sports material by the state. The state should be tolerant, because we are living in the plurality of the society. To avoid hatred and spread universal brotherhood, government is an act of the God. No human being can take any concrete step to take care of the situation. However, we can, within our humble reach, as a beggar's might, what we can do, we can preserve rainwater or something like that to the greatest possible extent, so that in a case of dire need, we can utilize the same. Because we cannot accuse the God, why you have rained so much, why drought has occurred this year. So we have no control over it. Anyway, the next point is stop affecting confidence. Nicholas armchair is to be avoided. Next, these are all these things which have to be taken care of. Now, the question is, I do not know whether I am exceeding to my exceeding. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I mean, we elders cannot exceed because young blood is before us. We should allow the young blood to come and reach us. Thank you. Now we have got Mr. Raghavendra Rathore, Justice from Rajasthan High Court before us.
Mr. Chairman, sir, the dignitaries on the dais, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. You know, as a last speaker, I have the advantage of hearing the enlightened speech and views of my earlier speakers, but also the disadvantage, that is a constant of time, and some views which I was to put before you have been already expressed in some manner or the other by the earlier speaker. Anyhow, I propose to proceed point wise so that I can place before you the maximum views of mine, not to repeat what has already been said, and of course in the biggest thing is the constant of time before me. Now, as you know, the proposition today is tackling global issues. Now, first of all, I'll tell you point number one, which I want to tell you is global or globalization is not a new thing, at least for we Indians. And I'm saying this before you because you are young students, maybe under the impression, and there are many who are under the impression that thought about globe and global things or globalization is a new concept which has come up only by invention of this, in this digital world, by invention of this internet, Facebooks and etc. As Mr. Chairman had said before earlier, this global or global thought is very much there in the Indian society since ancient times. If you go back to the epics and other books written by the great authors, you will find everywhere we had been talking about welfare of all, sabka bhala ho. This was the motto given by our ancient society and our ancestors. As Mr. Chairman had rightly pointed out, as back as in the year, I think it is, sir, 1875, the Conference of Religion held in Chicago, where our renowned saint Vivekananda had participated, and as he said, the very word which he used, brothers and sisters, was an outcome of the thought of the Indian society. What he had read and what he had learned from his Guru Ramakrishna Paramhans that he had referred to in these words. He addressed the conference with starting with these words. So now, what number 2 what I want to tell you is that these global issues, the topic for today, of course, we have 4 items, issues, subheads given, but as the coordinator had pointed out, as one of my prior speakers has pointed out, all these 4 subheads are interconnected. In fact, the topic global issues is itself incorporates all these 4 subheads. So I would propose to go and proceed only the topic itself, which includes these heads. Now, the next question which I want to tell you is, the question before us is, what is the solution for tackling these global issues? Now, dear students, I again want to point out, you must have read, but please read it again on my request. The other topics of the conference are itself the solution of the global issues. The problems, the disputes which we are facing all over the world, the solution, broadly speaking, is, as you have already been knowing it, and I would rather appreciate the work done by the organizers. To me, the first and foremost solution for these global problems is first, creating a culture of unity and peace. Second, establishing rule of law. Third, global governance structure. As one of the speakers said, whether we should have a united parliament or not. Then, next is towards international law and enforceability. As the Mr. Chairman had pointed out, that we have a international court, but then it is only on the agreement of the parties concerned that the issues can be taken up. Now, again, sustainable development. This is again a very important solution for this dispute, is because of the differences between, or the vast gap between the developed and underdeveloped countries has also given rise to many of the issues and disputes. So if we have a sustainable development of entire world, that will be a very effective solution for these difficulties or the global issues which has cropped up nowadays. Now, one more thing I want to point out is, it is little bit connected with one of the topics, and you must have heard in other auditoriums. Now, so far as terrorism is concerned, my view is an act of terrorist is a crime against society, and it is not to be pardoned. Number 2, of course, the reason of terrorism are many, but by and large, it is based on individual thought, sentiments, and ultimately to religion. Now, my suggestion, and which I want to give in this regard, is that even in religion, many a times I have heard in many conferences, in respect of dispute between religions, we always talk about sitting together, discussing, and trying to find a solution. My firm belief is that is a thing which should be done at the second stage. First stage is from the childhood, from the infancy, or starting from the family, individual family. It is the mindset and the thought of an individual which will ultimately lead to his tolerance and other things, including tolerance in respect of religion of others. What we are doing is, once a person becomes major, he is a grown-up man, he adopts a religion, he becomes very, touchy, he becomes very sentimental, and it is very, very difficult to remove from his mind at that stage that no, you must adopt or you at least accept the thoughts of the other religion. It is very difficult. He will always think, I am of so and so religion, number one, Number 2, he'll always say, my religion is the best. Number 3, he will always try to, if he has the capacity or he has the power, he will always try to have his religion, strength of his religion increased. The means are many. Even in discussion, I found people trying to convince you that no, your religion, no, my religion is better, my religion is superior. This is all mindset which I have seen in my short life. For that, my suggestion is, all this will go only when you go to the root. The root is a mindset of an individual, a thought of an individual which comes in his mind from the very beginning stage, from the very childhood. I'll give another example. People of our age, it is very difficult for us to now pick up this laptop working or your digital components working, whereas I have seen child of 3 years very easily operating a mobile. I frankly confess before you, there are in my mobile which my son has given me, there are so many facilities, I don't know most of them. I only know how to send message, how to send message on WhatsApp, and just open the mail. That I also have learned now very recently, and only just to receive call and give call. That is all. The reason being, at this stage when I am a senior citizen, it is difficult for me to grasp new things, to catch new things. These, mechanical systems, other systems, even any thought. If at this stage someone tries to convince me, no, this principle, this philosophy, I'll not say about religion, I'll say it in the word philosophy. If someone tries to tell me that no, philosophy of Gita is not proper, philosophy of so-and-so saint is there, do you think I will be able to accept it? Do you think now at this stage I can just throw out what was in my mind for last 65 years? Definitely not. Therefore I propose is that this is also a thing which should be seriously taken, that in respect of conflicts of religion or respect to create tolerance for religion of others, it is essential that the person from the very inception, very infancy and childhood should be taught by his parents to have that mindset and to have that thought towards others. Live and let live, the principle which is there known. Now these are the things which should be taught at the very beginning, and then only it will be in his mind. Otherwise, subsequently, as I said, when it becomes, it's already set in the mind, it is very, very difficult to remove it, and the question of full tolerance, at least if not some, goes out. Thank you very much, and in the last, I'll say, and otherwise I will be feeling in my duty to thank the organizers who have remembered me. I think this third or fourth time I have been here to so that I am able to stand before you and express some views of mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice Rathore. Now the floor is open to you. Let me receive arrows from Arjun or Arjunas. You can ask.
So now we have the question hour. All those children who are ready with their questions, if you've heard these eminent judges speak, I'm sure you noted down a few points, and now we want your questions, please. Quickly. Come. Can we have the mic, please? Somebody pass on the mic to her. In the meantime, others be ready. And those who are asking questions, please tell your name and then you ask your question.
My question is for Honorable Mr. Judge Dr. Piero.
Name.
My name is Akanksha. I am from Kanpur Road campus. My question is for Honorable Judge Dr. Piero from Italy. How far do you find it is justified for a nation state to intervene in the domestic affairs of others for their interest?
This is a very difficult question, and I don't know if I can answer, because it's, of course, it's been discussed actually every day in all the world. The reason pro the intervention is that if nobody intervenes, there could be more disastrous consequences, no? More wars, the war will never finish. There must be one or more nation who has to take a step. The word against the intervention is that each nation is independent and autonomous, and it must administer its own business, and it does not want external intervention. I think the only thing to be done is that a possible intervention is authorized by a global union of nations, like the United Nations, or even more states. I would say more agreement of more possible states, the highest number of possible states. Otherwise, there will be no rule to follow. And I'm sorry if I cannot give a more precise answer, but it's such a complex issue in the world in this moment.
Okay. Anybody else who wants to ask a question? Give that mic to her, please. Yes.
Jajigat sir, I am Priyanshi from Station Road campus. My question is mainly to the Chief Justices of India, but as it was a topic of from Italy also, then the question belongs to you also. Sir, this conference has been taking place from last 15 years, and women empowerment was a topic for all of the sessions, I think so. So my question is that the women are still on the same place which they were from last 15 years. Only little of the development have taken place.
Face the camera, beta. Face the camera. You're not visible.
So, sir, how has judiciary helped to expedite this process?
The very fact you are bold enough to come and ask a question itself is the improvement. Number one. Number two, we have enacted 22 acts in general applicable to entire India.
Come this side.
To protect the interests of women. And today, you see almost in all states in India, who is the chief minister? Not me, not a man. It is a woman. Who is the person who flew to the other sky? Chawla. Kalpana Chawla.
Kalpana Chawla, yeah.
And who is now getting fame in the sports? Saina Mirza. No, what I am saying is not only that, leave alone that. Now, the women in India, originally the thought was women cannot even step out of the Lakshman Rekha. That was long ago. Now we have been producing, first of all, education to the children, and you can take it from me scientifically, subject to the objection by the students, men students. Your intelligentsia, the potentiality of your brain, the potential of your body is great and greater than us. That is potentially proved. Therefore, you are coming faster. Say, for example, you take any industry. Who is the CEO? Any IT industry. You are getting 1 lakh and 2 lakh per month. Whereas my initial salary was 25 rupees in 1960. What I am trying to tell you is, you got the potential, that the potential is blossoming into good conduct and good things. And today, in the very institution you are studying, I feel lot of students coming up boldly and doing things which we could not have imagined in those days. Therefore, the conference has not only given them encouragement, but also make them a beginning to have a one world concept, which we had, as rightly said by Mr. Rathore, we had it years and years ago. Now we are only reviving it.
Sir, I meant in empowerment.
Sir,
in empowerment of women, it is also included that the women should be protected from the violence happening to them. So, from last few years, some violence has been stopped on them, but still there is. So, sir, how do you think judiciary is helping to expedite that process? Because it's not too fast. Because at least it's a topic of last 15 years in this school only. So something would have been done more frequent than it is happening now.
Now, that's correct question asked by you. We have been advising by judgments even how the people, especially young people like you or any woman, should move into society. Point number 1, never go alone. Point number 2, if you go with your friend. Point number 3, carry some chili powder on your handbag if a man attacks it. Point number 4, try to avoid a path which is not trodden by others. For example, if you got a lonely way, see, if you go to lonely, people are tempted. See, you would have seen even small WhatsApps, when a girl goes alone, 3 boys naturally tempted to come and disturb. And the same WhatsApp, it is shown, another boy comes and says, you are my bahan. Therefore, I am prepared to protect. Those boys go away. So everything depends upon the hands of a woman or a girl. In fact, there is a proverb in Tamil, Avadum pennale, Azhuvadum pennale. You can do wonders and you can destroy. Therefore, today, see, don't worry about the newspaper reports. I'll tell you, if you take in the incident of all the reports, I want you to go into the root of the matter. If you go to the root of the matter, you will know who is at fault and why things happen. You have got to protect yourself. You can always. And the courts are coming to your help. Whenever a complaint is made, either to the magistrate court or anywhere else, immediately the offender is arrested, even if they give you an opportunity.
Sir, but that is when the case is preferred by the media. If the case has not got special treatment or is not shown by the media on television, the case is just suppressed. In many of the newspapers, the report comes that particular case happened somewhere and it was not fired by the police officers because of the people who did it were at a higher post. So some laws should be made or some organization should be made which has the rights.
Of course, before that I'll tell you only one thing, my brother also explained to you. Please understand basically the law. Suppose if you have got a complaint made to the police station, if the police does not take action, you are entitled to go to the magistrate and file a complaint, and the magistrate must take the complaint and direct the police to inquire into and report back to you. You are not prepared. The problem is people be either not aware or they are afraid to come out. Even if the magistrate does not give an order, you can approach the High Court for directions. We have got a criminal procedure code where your right is protected more and more. Now the courts are very vigilant. You can take it from me. All the report see the baby, there is some delay. But when I'll tell you one more thing. If a complaint is filed even after 6 years or 7 years, even later I saw a complaint made after 7 years by a lady saying, my boss has done this after 7 years ago, 18 years ago. And she claims compensation in England, a Tamil lady. So what I am trying to tell you is, your right is protected and the courts are always there to come to help. 1 minute.
So just now as you said that
Just a minute. I think what sir is trying to say is that all the time the honorable judges and the justices, they are there for you to help, but then the case has to be filed. And as for the promulgation of the laws are made by the government. The judges and the justices, they act when they get the case.
What is your good name?
So Priyanshi.
Priyanshi, don't take it otherwise. But what I understood from your queries is the concept of empowerment is wrongly understood by you.
Sir,
Just please, it's not just hear. Don't preempt the things. According to you, which I could follow is, and there are two things I have gathered from your question. Number one, according to you, empowerment of women is only when she is being physically harassed and you are able to. Just tell me, yes. Now I'm giving you illustration. Just wait for 2 minutes. We have heard you. according to you, a woman will be fully empowered if protection is given to her when she is physically harassed or there is something like eve teasing or something. Number one. Number two, your concept with second thing. Again, I say don't take it otherwise because you are still to learn many things. What we have come in mind is only on the basis of two things. Number one, the media reports. Number two, those high-sounding articles. I am very frank in this auditorium. I believe there is no pressman. High-sounding articles regarding women empowerment. May I tell you one thing? And from tomorrow onward, you just assess whether what I've told is right or not. Many of the articles in print media which comes with respect of women empowerment are by gents. They are those people who want to show everyone that we are progressive. They are the people who want some platform to speak. That is not the true picture. Now I tell you what the Prime Minister of India had said at the headquarters of Facebook. We in India are the first who have been respecting and giving full regard to a woman.
Yes, true. Very nice.
Number one, and I'll illustrate how. In India, it's the only civilization where all powers are to the ladies. I'm talking about being a student of history, I'm telling you. How? Number one, the power of money is in goddess Lakshmi. The power of learning is in the hands of goddess Saraswati. The power of Shakti is in the hand of goddess Parvati. None else. Neither Shiva has that power, nor Brahma has power, nor Vishnu has that power. Please, that's why I told you, please, I know it is not your fault. You are of a tender age. Probably when we were of your age, we had also some incomplete information. We used to make our mindset accordingly. You go down to it, I'll give another. Modern times, as my chairman had said, in modern times, you will see there are a number of laws which has been enacted for protection of women, including the law regarding to service class women. And as he said rightly, I'll give many examples where a lady is coming after years together. The question which we as a judge face many times is, the counsel for defense says, sir, is it not a case of consent? You are where was she for last 7 years? Was she not duty bound to come to the court or to the police station at the very first instant when the first incident took place? Why did she keep mum? Again, I'll give a very typical example which I'm sure you will not believe from me, and till you reach home, you will keep on thinking about it. Now what you will think about this? In my state, because of political reasons, with all due respect to the politicians, you know what the provision is and what is the practical aspect I have seen. My district judge of that tribal district came in a conference, spoke very openly. There the government has given an award of 2 lakhs of rupees to a lady who suffers, harassment, physical harassment. 1 lakh of rupees is given the moment she filed the first information report. 1 lakh is given on the filing of challan, that is after conclusion of the investigation submitted to the magistrate. Now what is happening practically, and what they say that it is for the upliftment of the tribal women. And you know what is practically happening, which has come up to the High Court in our court. Then don't mind it, this is a fact. I can prove you if you come to my state at Jaipur, Rajasthan and at Jaipur. These ladies, they are very intelligent. Don't presume that even an illiterate lady is not intelligent. Even an illiterate lady is intelligent. Now what is happening there is, they take 1 lakh of rupees on lodging of the FIR. They take another 1 lakh of rupees on filing of challan against magistrate. And they take another 1 lakh of rupees from the accused to be turned hostile in the court. Now this is happening openly. I'll give Banswara district of Rajasthan. If you have any connection, if you have any means, you find out from Banswara and Dungarpur. And moreover, now the latest trend is within family, they have adopted this as a weapon. I say with all sincerity, this is most unfortunate. There are 2 brothers, both married. sometime later on there's a dispute developed between them on account of immovable property. You know what the one wife of the brother says? She goes, draws a report that my husband's brother has committed offense of rape. The brother is shunted inside, behind bars, inside jail. Few days later, the other wife goes. That is a situation we are facing. Please, please, for God's sake. I think I am more than that. Don't go by these, you know.
Okay.
I'm really sorry, sir. I didn't
The
want
mindset of people needs to be changed.
Only 1 minute, madam. Only 1 minute.
Okay.
See, the Supreme Court has woken up to the situation and observed very clearly that, as my brother said, the women are trying to exploit the laws in their favor to the detriment of the men. I don't want to go into that. I am not saying anything. I am only telling you, you are right in saying you should protect it. I am telling you, you are protected in all the 5 ways that can be protected by all the 5 senses.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
Thank you, sir.
Exactly. Now, one more thing, I'll give you another illustration. You know, Indian Penal Code was drafted and acted in 1860 by the great man, Lord Macaulay. Lord Macaulay has drafted this Indian Penal Code. For your information, all present, the students particularly, it covers even the offences which happens today. See the greatness of that code. It covers all these mischief committed by the chit fund and all whatever. Even there are so many offences which are now come up for the first time. It is covered by that. And number 2, for your kind information, I think both the brothers here would agree with me, because this is my assessment after 30 years of advocate as an advocate and 8 years of a judge. My experience is all those amendments which have been brought in Indian Penal Code, they have led to more controversy than the original text.
You're right.
Even this Delhi episode, which you people are having in mind, in Delhi episode, the amendment which was brought, rather forced to be brought, that has further led another controversy in legal field. Now this is what is happening. Because under pressure, political reasons, and when we say, according to me, what is empowerment is, I'll give you an example. Just check up for last 15 to 20 years, how many benefits have been given to ladies.
Yes.
Entrepreneurs have been given benefit more than what the gent entrepreneur has. Ladies in my state and in other states also, they have been given 30% reservation in police force. And at whose cost? At the cost of society. Why? Because that 30% of police force, which is meant by ladies, they are handicapped. They are handicapped. They can not run behind the thief. Only male has to run. They are handicapped because they cannot go and caught hold of a culprit in the night in his house. They are handicapped because of their, so many other things I don't want to elaborate. Now, the reason is the highest, police officer tells me of the state that, sir, we are working with only 70% of force. Now, again, panchayat, you are there part of the local self-government. You become sarpanch, you become most powerful. How do you say empowerment is not there for ladies? Please, that's why I started with that. Remove from your mind this cobweb. What is the definition of meaning of empowerment? Empowerment does not mean the protection of a lady at the time of physical handling.
So, I would like to... Okay, thank you, Priyanshi. I think you can take your seat. Yeah, you can speak. Yes.
In order to, please sit down here, in order to assuage your wounds, so far your questions are concerned, I am sorry that you should be consoled in this way or that way. A few days back, I attended a conference whether females are more equal than men. It is a peculiar sentence. So ultimately, it was prevailed that it is a win-win situation. None overlaps the other. Ladies are the mothers. Boys are the offspring of the mothers. So since the creation of the world, the importance has been attached more to the ladies. Next comes your questions. During last 15 years, shorn of unnecessary details, I am giving some people. You have heard, you have seen that 2 or 3 days back in Times of India, one lady has been appointed as Chief Navy Officers of Indian Force. Number 2, you have seen the enactment of Section 3 and 4 of the Muslim Women's Protection Act. Previously, a divorcee could not get maintenance beyond the period of iddat, that is 3 months. But after some landmark decisions given by Daniel Lothibi and one eminent judge of the Calcutta High Court a few months back, the situation has completely changed. Till her remarriage or death, she will be entitled to get maintenance. Maternity leave in government office, it has been enhanced to a pretty long period. You just see. Income tax facilities, you have been given more facilities than males. And that apart. You have seen, you are very quite young. Try to read Vishakha's case.
Yes, enough. Let us not threaten her.
Thank you very much.
No, I think one, there is no empowerment from men, I say. No questions. That itself shows she is empowered than all of you. Am I right?
Okay, on a lighter note, when we talk about women empowerment, children, you are attending the 16th International Conference of the Chief Justices of the World, which is organized by City Montessori School, the 20 campuses of City Montessori School. And I think you all know that the heads of all these 20 campuses are women. Can you applaud for that? And I am one of them.
Excuse me, this is a gross injustice and discrimination to men.
Don't injure her further.
All right, we take the next question. Let it come from the men now. Boys, please. Yes, come.
Tell your name first.
Tell your name. And
So my name is Ekant Singh. I am from Aliganj campus 2. So my question is that there are many nations who talk about disarmament of nuclear weapons, but still manufacture of weapons of mass destruction takes place. What is the reason for this?
You have put forward a very intelligent and good questions. Your mind is quite soft. Your mind is soft. We do not follow what we do preach. Some big players in the world, they are coming ostensibly to prove that they are in favor of total disarmament of the nuclear proliferation. But surreptitiously they are going on. Rather, at the risk of excuse, I must say, the United States of America and Russia are the two biggest countries in the world. They are talking about the treaties. Some advancements are being made, but about 20 days back, the latest example is 20 days back, America has blocked the passage of total ban on nuclear Sensitivity Act. So this is the question. It is a debatable question. Grow up, fight against it, and wait and watch what the world is bringing for all of you. Thank you very much. I think the question answer is clear.
anybody else for a question?
Sir,
Yes.
I am having one more question.
Let
Sir,
somebody else get a chance, better, then you can come back again. Yes, please come.
Good evening to all the honorable judges present here. Sir, we talk about globalization and world unity. What could be a one-step process or way of developing world unity in real sense according to you? Do you think a day will come when we will stop distinguishing on the basis of religion? My question is open to you.
See, it's not, see, nowadays religion is slowly, according to me, is slowly vanishing because we are trying to find out and tell the people there's one God. See, like all rivers reach the sea finally, if you take all religions, at least in India, all the principles laid down by them are the same, one. Number two, if you take the nature of worship in every religion, when you fold our hands, worship Lord Shiva, that means, we are having all the acupuncture points contacted you. When you sit down and pray like the Mohammedan, what you do is this is a posture of yoga that makes you bend your spinal cord, touch the earth and coming back. Similarly, when you go and pray before a Christian church, you have both the hands open and pray to God. That is the antenna to get power. There is a power everywhere. The air is full of power. Therefore, that is coming to you. So, religion is only a media to get power for your body, which you are entitled, which is available plenty around you. Therefore, once this concept goes on, today, yoga, which is the original, even the Shiva Mudra is a part of yoga. Today, Americans are claiming patent right over the same. Please understand that. So, we are the forerunners. We were the original inventors. They are only discoverers. So, once this concept goes in the mind of everybody, there will be no question of religion coming in at all. That is, again I am telling you, it is on you. You would have seen latest on the Krishna Jayanti, a Muslim, makes his son as a Krishna and travels his scooter showing he is worshipping that. And in other places, in Christian is putting a Hindu temple. A Hindu is building a church. So the concept is changing, and the reason for change is yourself. I am again telling you. In Tamil we can say, Unnal mudiyum thambi, it is you can do and nobody else. So if you all unite together, certainly by the time you reach my age, there will be only one religion, one God, one peace, and goodness for everywhere.
Thank you so much.
In fact, we all are just, making you know the things. We are sure in our generation the thing will not confuse.
You ask some
in your
questions to
generation
our
it will
other
confuse.
foreign dignitaries. You can ask some question to our
He
foreign
doesn't want to answer.
brothers also.
He doesn't want to answer. Okay, thank you so much. So, as pointed out by our eminent judges, the onus lies on you, dear children, because you are going to be the future citizens of the world. And what you are doing as students of CMS, right from the beginning, right from infancy, as Sir pointed out, you are doing the all religion prayer. You are doing the world unity prayer. It is not a program, children. It is sensitizing you all, dear children, so that you have respect for all religions. You have the feeling that the whole world is mine. We all are brothers and sisters. And we all belong to this earth, the planet Earth. Religion is just a media. It's just a media which takes you to that one God. God is otherwise one. Be it Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Isai, whatever. It's just one God. So the religion leads you to that one God. So we have to understand this, that God is one, mankind is one, and you are the children who are going to make a difference in the long run. You have to spread that awareness through education, through guidance, by means of attending these type of conferences. You can make a difference. So I'm sure the day is not too far when these CMS children, they will spread the word of world unity and world peace and make this place a better place to live.
Only one thing. The student, you asked one question, how to protect yourself. I'll tell you one important thing. See, we had what is known as Varma Kalai. Have you heard about that? Varma, we have got bodies, points which is supposed to be Varma points. If you know that anybody attacking you, if you just touch his neck, he will immediately soon. So I advise you, because that is all our old traditional arts, our treasures. If you take that, nobody will come near you.
So before we close, from our respected judge of Lebanon, he has sent a message, and I would request Sir, our chairperson, Honorable Justice Dr. T.N. Valingam, Judge Lok Adalat Madras High Court, to please read this out. He wanted me to read out, but I think you can read it.
Actually, this was circulated in the main hall itself. This is an honor to be conferred and a goal to be achieved by all of us. The proposal goes this way. I recommend as a President Judge Nabil Sari, Court of Cassation, Lebanon, for awarding Nobel Peace Prize to Dr. Jagdish Gandhi. You can clap now. For awarding Nobel Peace Prize to Dr. Jagdish Gandhi for his extraordinary contribution in the field of children education and environment and spreading peace among children and community. I will suggest one more thing. Every one of you, if you got an email, send email to the Nobel Prize Committee expressing your view, experience in this college and educational service made by them, and minimum 50,000 messages goes to them. They will definitely consider and will celebrate conferring of a Nobel Prize next year with all God's grace.
Thank you. So children, thank you very much, and with this we come to the end of this session. Thank you all of you, all children, very wonderful children. Thank you all eminent speakers. Children will keep sitting till our judges have moved out. Children, please keep sitting till all our judges have